So we're looking a lot now towards tomorrow. Let's quickly just give everybody at home a reminder. With Unicorns of Love's victory, they move on to challenge Fnatic tomorrow. It does mean that obviously Giants now fall out of the regional qualifier, and I want to turn my attention very briefly to Giants before we look at the rest of this bracket, because it's a very disappointing end to the year. You know, Giants, they started to show up, they found some level of consistency, they had some players performing towards the end of the split, but the moment standard lanes came out, that duo lane weaknesses got very heavily exposed, and it just, you know, the quarterfinals in this series, it just puts a sour taste to the Giants 2016.
Exactly. It almost like taints what was a fantastic split for them. Like, remembering back how they played in the tail end of the split, like really good, solid performances when they had their lane swap down to a T. So this is an organization that now has a little bit of time now to figure out exactly what they want to do. It didn't seem like they were committed to going to Worlds in their current state because of whatever issues they had internally. So, you know, I think they should probably keep a hold of Knight, because when he is playing well, he can play up to a very good level. And Maxlore shown a lot of potential too.
I agree, and I definitely want to see what happens with the team in the offseason. It's going to be a challenge, but I want to hit on one of the other teams that had some internal problems and also a disappointing end to the playoffs, Fnatic, against Unicorns tomorrow. Sifa, what do you make of that? After seeing UOL now, knowing we haven't seen Fnatic for 3+ weeks.
Okay, so there's a lot of question marks here in terms of what Fnatic are going to bring to the table. I think the two big ones for me are going to be Spirit and QUALIFIERS in the top lane. QUALIFIERS I do not think will give Vizicsacsi nearly as much of an edge. I think if we see the same Gnar and Shen matchup, I think QUALIFIERS will perform much better, Gnar being a champion that he is quite fantastic at. And then if we look in the jungle, I think we saw Maxlore outclass move in Game 2, and if Spirit brings a good performance, although he has been shaky, I think he can do exactly the same thing and build Fnatic a lead from the laning phase, and Fnatic are not a team that are going to give that up in the same way that we saw Giants.
Do you favor Fnatic then? Based on what you just said? Based on
I'm going to favor Fnatic, yes, because I think I didn't see enough from Unicorns of Love today. Like, the Vayne pick to me is wonderful, but also, like, just kind of showboaty. Like, I feel like we could have seen cleaner gameplay coming out from them, cleaner snowballs. I think they crush Giants. That's wonderful. Yeah. But I think when it's this style of game, if we're looking up against an opponent that historically has done better than they have, I don't think we can give them too much credit for it.
Perks, what do you think?
Well, I'm not sure what to think of Fnatic exactly. So if they show up like I expect them to, I think they will take the series. I think it's going to be a close series though. I think it's going to be 3-2 Fnatic, because Unicorns are like still very strong players early game, and I think if Fnatic can like not fall to their aggression or even match it, then they should have a easier time winning the game than Giants did. Just because I think Fnatic has better players and probably better teamwork too, and they actually screamed, unlike Giants, so, they have more chances for sure.
Favoriting Fnatic tomorrow. I think in general, though, everyone expects Splyce to then beat whoever wins tomorrow. And I want to touch on that just in a little bit, but for now, earlier today we asked you over at LOL Esports, who do you think will be victorious in the regional qualifiers and why? We have a tweet from @It'sLonely. He or she thinks Fnatic will take it. They said if Samsung can beat KT, Fnatic can beat Unicorns, Giants, and Splyce. Now, I promised I didn't prepare that ahead of time. Do you think there is enough magic in Fnatic that if they can win tomorrow to bounce back and beat Splyce on Monday?
No, I personally think that no team that wins tomorrow will have chance versus Splyce. I mean, maybe they'll have some small chances, but if Splyce plays with their performance, like, I think Trashy and Wunder are just so much better than any other players in their position, like as a duo at least. Like, Vizicsacsi is sure a very good top laner, and but I think Move is not quite on Trashy's level, so I think Trashy and Wunder will be the deciding factor in any series.
And of course, Stress, you know, you believed in a little bit of Giants magic. Didn't pan out today. Do you exactly? Do you believe in some of the other magic? Fnatic Febiven, he's predicting Fnatic.
Oh, I'm glad.
That's not a surprise.
Well, I mean, Febiven's been fairly, not outspoken recently, but, you know, he's been fairly emotional on Twitter. And, you know, Fnatic and Splyce, with whatever happened this week with Scrims, clearly have both said we want to be at Worlds. They've showed they want determination. Like, let's be real. If Fnatic have been taking the last few weeks seriously since they lost to H2K, have been practicing, and have got good practice against Splyce, there's no reason they shouldn't beat Unicorns, who aren't very well practiced, and potentially can take it to Splyce. If they've learned enough in the last few weeks, which we don't have visibility on, there's a possibility, but still, like, I would not put money on Fnatic making it past Splice.
While I'm generally a believer in the like a few weeks off can change the team completely, Fnatic had a whole season here.
I don't think it's time off. I think it has to have been weeks of hard work.
Oh no, I mean
and,
time away from competitive play.
Okay.
Let's say that. So practicing and scrimming, but I still just do not. I don't see it. Fnatic would have to like seriously level up their team play to really come out on top here because, as you mentioned, Trashy is just performing god tier, and he's performing god tier pretty consistently, only being shut down by Trick really in that last final. And Spirit is all over the place. Sometimes the man is a monster. Sometimes, honestly, he just throws games away. So it's really we see that consistency come through. I'm really skeptical that Fnatic can even take it to Splice.
Yeah, Spirit sometimes like does very well, and then he picks stuff like Rumble or Kha'Zix or something like that, and then makes the game a lot harder for his team. But also, I saw Reckless plays TV video, like his Tristana is insane, so I expect Reckless to pick Tristana tomorrow and get the pentakill, you know.
Tristana pentakill. I actually think it was. He got that loss in Stockholm, I think it was.
Yeah, it
was on Tristana as well.
I like that our research is Reckless's plays TV. I just saw Veritas destroy people with Vayne. He is gonna win no matter what tomorrow.
Yeah, I did see that. Both of them was calling, but yeah.
That's how we put play-by-plays at the end. I think we round down the conversation. But listen, these teams, they continue to fight for the final spot for Worlds 2016. Let's once again look at all the teams who have already booked their tickets to San Francisco and the World Championship. Obviously split down into a couple of pools. We're going to start by looking at some of these Pool 1 teams. Rocks, Tigers, EDG, Flash Wolves, and TSM Europe lost their Pool 1 seed. Thank you, Perks.
Thanks.
Sorry.
But obviously looking at some of these squads, you know, you've already mentioned you've got some scrims against some of these guys. Are they like the strongest teams from all of their regions? Obviously, the answer is yes. They won. But what's your take on like the relative strength? You know, is Rocks better than EDG, better than Flash Wolves, better than TSM?
Right now, I think EDG is the strongest.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not sure, but I think so. And then Rocks, and then TSM, and then Flash Wolves. That's my thoughts from watching the games. I think all the teams are good, like very good, and Flash Wolves is like kind of a wild card. I think by like their main players are mid and jungle, so if they don't carry that, I don't think their top or bot lane will carry. So it's like depends on them to carry the games. And EDG is like a very well-rounded team with like very strong mid jungle and bot. Like their bot duo is very good, and their top is kind of like a lonely guy who gets just ditched away on the island, you know, and come on, deal with
like expect at the beginning of the split, the middle of the split.
Just deal yourself, you know, and then TSM is like a very good team too. They work super good together. They just play really good as a team. So.
Is it going to be the third year in a row that we're baited by EDG and the Chinese teams? Because I do not disagree. I watched the finals. EDG pick the globals.
Sifa.
Go bot.
No, I can't argue with you because my point is that China always plays a very different style of League of Legends. They value things differently. Whereas we might see it as really black and white, like this is the right choice, this is the wrong choice. They're willing to give up what we would consider traditional macro decision making to give specific players leads, to look for fights that may seem risky, but they're confident in being able to out execute. So. I think EDG, knowing that the meta isn't going to shift very much, knowing that there's just going to be slight adjustments as we move forward through the patches, I think this is EDG's best shot for coming into Worlds. I think they know the meta. I think they've got fantastic players for standard lanes, and Clearlove is a god. Clearlove is one of the best players in the world. True. This man is consistently, he's a god. I'm going to leave it at that.
I can't disagree with anything spoken about EDG. They did have a very convincing finals using globals, like making set plays, just focusing on the numbers advantage. But, you know, we've been talking about this a lot, obviously, in the build-up to Worlds. It's the bootcamp that's going to change everything. Because if bootcamp creates a meta, like last year's bootcamp, people were like, well, yeah, high midding a top's 100% getting played. Like, I say that in all certainty. Like, I know that was being played by people like Huni, Smeb, like everyone was practicing it. But it didn't get to the point where that was shown. And it always changes a lot of things in that bootcamp time. And Perks, I'm sure you'll be able to attest to this in a couple of weeks' time. You'll be like, yeah, we all feel supercharged by this bootcamp.
I'm really looking forward to the bootcamp and testing champions and playstyles and looking forward to what new patches bring too. But I do agree you have some points, because remember last year I was told that people were playing a lot of like LeBlanc and Ari and Yasuo in streams and stuff like that, and then on stage you could only see like Victor, Azir, and you could see some Yasuo from Rookie, I think, or something like that, but those Chinese teams just faltered and lost the game with Yasuo, you know. So I think it's gonna be the same this year. Like a lot of risky picks are gonna be picked in streams, but when it comes to the stage, it's gonna be just safe champs like Sivir, Vladimir, and same meta, because it's not that there is too high risk for too low reward for the champions that are risky on top or mid. Because if you don't get ahead with them, they're really useless, so it's not even worth to play them.
And I think the one difference here is that if we look at 5.18 as a patch, that was like just too big, too massive for teams. So it's really easy for teams with a set number of scrim partners to kind of inbreed their own meta, to like think that something is really good because one team is playing it really well.
Yeah.
Whereas this time around, we have a lot more footage. If the patches aren't that different, I think that the meta we will see will remain relatively the same. And while there may be one or two kind of innovative picks that are coming out, I don't think anyone is going to have a completely wrong read on the meta, which I think was a very strong possibility for last Worlds.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that statement, because last year it was like just random boom patch. Deadman's Plate, Sterox Gage, Darius, Mordekaiser, Renekton, Fiora, GP. Let's drop it all, you know. And the red side was like, you have to ban Mordekaiser and GP or you lost the game. So the draft was like pretty one-sided, and teams that had blue side would win the game in best of series most of the time. And also right now, you're right about teams understanding the meta better. Like it took some while, like a lot of patches, but right now, like it's pretty common and clear to everyone what they should play and how they should play, and it can only get better for each team. But
thing is, there are slight differences, right, between each region. We're seeing certain champions played a little bit more, a little bit differently. I do want to highlight the top row of our Pool 2 teams, because both European squads, G2 and H2K, are going to be in Pool 2. And then it's SKT and Samsung Galaxy. Now, Samsung Galaxy took down KT earlier today. I think, surprisingly, I think KT was sort of the favorites. But now, interesting to see, like, SKT, they didn't win their final. They got upset by KT in the semi-final of LCK. What's your take now looking at, like, these two Korean squads? Have you had a chance to watch much Samsung Galaxy?
Yeah, I watched Samsung today versus KT, and I was rather disappointed by KT's performance. I think today's series was played pretty poorly by both teams, and in the end, the team with better draft won in the game 5, where KT completely lost in draft, I think. About SKT, they looked really strong the first 2 games versus KT in the semifinals, and then they just, I don't know what happened, like they just crashed and burned. I think SKT has obvious flaws, like top and jungle. They are pretty weak players. Or like Duke is good on some champs, but then when you put him on GP, you can see
the difference in play, right?
You can see that he doesn't have a mouse sometimes.
But how much of a weakness is this? Something that you think SKT can work on? Because also, let's be frank,
they can for sure. Yeah, like it's not like it's just how it looked like in semifinals. These players can improve. There was like 1 month, that was 2 weeks ago or something. They can still improve to the Worlds, and they can work on their flaws to being better, like, and working as a team. Like Blank had pretty poor performance too, and it was like that in Spring Split too, and then Blank played like good at MSI, and he played good at finals, and people were like flaming him, but he had good performance again. So maybe he can improve his performance again, and then it's gonna make whole team play better.
And I think this meta as a whole is just so heavily jungler focused. When you're guaranteed standard lanes, pathing options become so much more creative. And we look at the jungle talent that comes in here, it's all super top tier. Like, we're sending Yanko's Trick. We've got Clear Love coming in. We've just got so much talent across the board. We've got Peanut, who is, an absolute aggressive monster, although he has kind of developed a little bit more to his style as well, not always just the red smite dueling jungler. And I think while Blank is a good jungler, like, he's now competing against the best of the best, so he really has to step up. And my big thing coming into this is I'm just praying for H2K's sake that they don't end up in the EDG SKT group one more time.
Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah, that would suck. And to speak about the jungle, this is one of the other meta things that I'm really excited to see coming out of bootcamp, is if anything else rises up in priority, because we've got Rek'Sai, we've got Elise, we've got Nidalee.
Gragas is nerfed on next patch. Apparently, I'm not sure because I haven't played against it, but apparently you can just flash the E-flash. Because there is a cast time and ult, so I think that's gonna change a lot of priority on Gragas, because Gragas was OP because E-flash has
Trashy screwed. Trashy screwed. We've just lost the jungler.
But at least Gauntlet is on the
this is the right one.
So they can go to Worlds and then suck.
It's okay. We've got Skarner coming through. It did so much in today's. No, it did almost nothing. Like, they just won lane 1 game today for.
Skarner
I have to bring us back.
OP.
I have to bring us back to Europe. We are running out of time. Yeah. Listen, our coverage of the European Regional Qualifiers continues tomorrow, 5 p.m. Central European Summertime, with the Unicorns of Love facing another boss. This time round, it is Fnatic. Gentlemen, we only have a little bit of time here, so I want to get some predictions on how you think the series will go, because we will quote it and we will roll back video and make fun of you if you're right or wrong. You giggled first, so you get to vote first.
I will vote. I was wrong today. It doesn't matter. I'll just be wrong again. 3-2 Fnatic. I think it's not going to be easy for Fnatic. I think they should just edge it out.
Perks?
I wanted to say 3-2 Fnatic, but since Stress said it, it's going to be wrong probably. So I will go with 3-1 Fnatic.
Okay, 3-1
Sticking with the Perks predictions has done well for me so far on the 3 of UOL. So we'll say 3-1 for Fnatic.
All right, so going somewhat against like the trend coming into regional qualifier of the thought process. We'll find out which one of you guys is correct tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining us. We are going to log off for tonight. Perks, thank you for joining me. Thanks to the other guys
Thank you for having me.
There's more LCS coming your way tomorrow. Tonight, rather, at 9 p.m. Central US summertime. That's in about an hour and 8 minutes time. North American Regional kicks off with Team Liquid versus Envy. For us, we'll see you tomorrow, 5 o'clock. Cheers, guys.
Bye.